Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different and give you the first of at least 12 channel updates, instead of the usual technical video. I've got my reasons for doing this, but I'll save the explanations for the end of the video. So anyway, it's now January 2024. I've had a pretty good break down in Austin, Texas, but as you can probably hear, I got sick along the way. So the voiceovers and the audio are going to sound a little bit off. There's really not much I'm able to do about that. Now, I'm assuming that most of you are coming from computer science or electrical engineering backgrounds, beginner level, expert level, or maybe something in between, and this kind of summarizes where the channel has been so far. Now, the YouTube algorithm is particularly opaque, and it's difficult to tell who I should cater to exactly. So for that reason this fall, I decided to split the YouTube channel into technical and semi-technical channels. Now, I've already written about this, but because I haven't implemented the change yet, I'll simply say that all the types of videos that I used to cover before, things like the walkthroughs, the tutorials, all of that style of content is going to go to the Engineers Unboxing Tomorrow channel. And this current channel, and keep in mind this is only affecting YouTube, this channel is going to go towards semi-technical, mostly unscripted content. But enough of that, because it's a fresh new year, let's look forward to 2024 and what's coming up in the immediate future. First off, you may have noticed that I've been posting videos from my recent trip to Japan. This was for the IEEE Mechatronics Conference. Now, the conference happened at the end of summer, but because the videos themselves and the travel notes that I've taken down have been pretty popular online, I've decided that, at least for this year only, I'm going to be posting more travel-related updates, as long as there is an engineering or cultural aspect to it. In a nutshell, at the start of summer, the blog's viewership was so low, I decided to take a break from it. And instead I used the season to learn Japanese, at least at the intermediate level, and then simply go to Japan. That sounds a bit extreme, but at the time, I had been speaking and reading Mandarin for about 10 years. And even though the character sets aren't exactly the same, there is a lot of overlap. So going there with that little prep time was actually not that far-fetched. In case you're wondering, I did actually use ChatGPT to accelerate the process. And by that I mean I was using it as a one-on-one tutor. I'll get into the details in a future video, but suffice it to say I will return to Japan in 2024. I just don't know which season. If I'm being honest, if you give yourself adequate prep time, I think this is the style of trip that pretty much anyone can do. But it's not very easy. There's the cultural aspects and the cultural differences. The rail system in Tokyo alone was a huge mystery. There was a typhoon and an earthquake. Of course, I got lost on the way to the university, and all this happened in the space of about 2 weeks. Now, I was also at IEEE Sections Congress in Ottawa this year. There were almost 1,000 people from 90 different countries, and what I was able to gather is that the Asia-Pacific region, and East Asia in particular, is probably the only region of the globe where tech in general, or STEM in general, is on a strong upswing. Even if you're factoring in Japan's population decline, the students there, in my opinion, are extremely enthusiastic and serious about technology. The mentorship is probably the best in the world, or at least in the top 10. I'd like to see this happen in the US. But let's face it, most people are probably not going to the internet to learn anything. It's pretty backward if you think about it, because the impact of technology is rising probably exponentially at this point. And yet, it's very difficult to meet somebody outside of a university or a corporation who studies technology in their off time. In fact, I would call it willful ignorance, but I don't want to turn this into a rant video, and I still haven't gotten to the good stuff yet. Now, if you're a fan of Raspberry Pi, Arduino, PinePhone, Atmel AVR, or KiCad, I have good news, and that's because these series will resume this year, starting with the Raspberry Pi unboxing, and an update on my 2 PinePhones. Strangely enough, the Atmel AVR video, which is one of the first videos I can remember making, has been kind of carrying the blog on YouTube, even though it's quite dated at this point. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, it even refers to the old name of Atmel Studio 7 rather than the updated name of Microchip Studio 7. Now, fortunately, Microchip was pretty wise to not change that IDE very much over the years, so the info is probably still valid. In a nutshell, the AVR series is my #1 go-to microcontroller for any embedded application that doesn't require an operating system or a file system, and sometimes you can even throw in the file system if you need to. If you've heard of it before, let me know in the comments, because it is hard to gauge exactly how large that community is these days. I'm also going to resume the KiCad 7 tutorial series, It was low viewership that cut that tutorial series short, but after a closer inspection, I think that video series was actually having a visibility problem on YouTube. This is one of the many problems I have with the YouTube algorithm, and I'm not going to be very shy about mentioning that I'm not very happy with the platform. I actually think everybody should migrate away from it, but again, this is not a rant video, and I'm kind of getting the sense that this is already happening anyway. Anyway, I'm going to resume the series on custom symbols, and by the end of it there should be about 30 parts that go all the way up to the step where you create and submit the PCB design. You might be wondering if I'm going to do a video on the RP2040 by Raspberry Pi. I honestly haven't decided yet. I don't own one yet. I don't know a whole lot about the dev chain, but if I see an immediate application for it, or I see that it can do something that my @SamD21 series can't do, then yeah, I would most likely do a video on it at some point. And finally, we have the Unboxing-Tomorrow website. This is a pretty easy update because it is still under construction. Not a lot to say about it yet. I'm using Minds.com as a kind of temporary headquarters, and everything that I just talked about is going to appear there first. And that's pretty much it. You can think of this channel update pattern as sort of a New Year's resolution. Normally I don't do resolutions, I consider it to be a form of procrastination, but we will see how this goes. As a closing note, if you're following me on social media, try to engage with the page in any way you can. To put it bluntly, I'm trying to figure out exactly how many followers are bots. And if I'm not mistaken, Twitter, or X, is the only platform that makes this even remotely easy to do through automation. Stay posted for the next video in electronics, robotics, and communication systems, and we'll see you in the next one.